Hey everybody, it's great to be here at the 99-cent store. Hey everybody, it's so great to be here at the Expert Car Wash. Thank you for having me here today at the New Beverly Cinema. So who out there likes pancakes, huh? Hey everybody, welcome to Lunch Therapy. Yeah, it's Interview Friday. We got a great guest today. We got Barry Katz, who is a producer and a host of a great podcast and a manager, just a legend in the comedy world. Of course, we're going to get ourselves going here real quick and breathe before we bring him on, because I got to breathe because I'm like, whoa, man. So tense. I'm so tense. I got this show today, this incredible interview that's going to happen. Hoy, there's Kamala Lopez here. I've also, tonight, we're going to be screening Swan Up at Echo Park at the Show and Tell. If anybody wants to go there, let us know, because it's going to be super fun. And we're going to be screening that. This is Seth Word. A lot of you know Seth Word and Kyle Helf. They put on this show every once a month. So come on down. All right. Yeah. Ginny Sykes is here. Ginny knows Barry. We're going to say hi for Ginny. Ginny's going to be here with us. Let's get into this thing. We're going to breathe. Let's get Bloss on the show. Bloss. There he is. Hey, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see your face again. I see your mouth moving. But, you know, nothing. Nothing.
Can nothing? Nothing?
Oh, there we go. Ah,
Hello?
yeah.
Hello? Hello?
All
Hello?
right.
Hello?
Hello. So, got some healing vibrations here before we bring Barry on. I'm super excited about this conversation that we're going to have because, you know, Barry is somebody who has so much experience in the comedy world. And, you know, he's kind of given back from what I understand. He's got the blueprint for comedy success. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's really exciting me. And apparently Ginny Sykes has been working with him as well, who is also our Jeannie Sykes, our hummingbird Jeannie Sykes. I say Jeannie because you say Jeannie, but it's actually Ginny. Did you know that?
I dream of Jeannie.
Yeah,
but it's Jeannie.
Good too. Got the healing vibrations here, relaxing us all with their sound bowls, their crystal bowls. Howard Aronin, comedian, is here as well. Matt Wright, we got a question already. Why did the man dress up as a thin pancake for Halloween? To give people the crepes. Yes. Yes. I love it when hummingbirds have jokes.
Awesome.
It's like a neighborhood of singing in bowls. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. We're in the neighborhood. It's like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood around here. Absolutely. What were you going to say?
No, I said as Matt looks off in the distance.
Yeah. That's what he does, right? He does that, right?
Yeah. But, you know,
right.
Matt likes to toss them out there and see if it sticks.
Yeah. That's one of the things chat room can do is suggest jokes in case we don't have any, because we need them.
Well, this whole interactive part of the show, you know. You can jump in at any time, especially with our guest interview.
Yep.
Allows them to ask questions.
Got some hand pan here. This is Sam Marr. I'm going to say Marr, like Bill Maher.
Right, Bill.
Playing the hand pan here. Sam, yeah. This is to relax your soul. Get your vagus nerve calmed down. Activate your kundalini.
Do some breathing. Do some breathing. Take some breaths with Sam.
Let's do it.
Come on, take a big deep breath. You're gonna hold it in for a couple seconds. Come on, take it in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let her out, let her out. Let it all out. You like to relax. When breathing, you should be exhaling longer than you inhaling.
How's that
Take
possible?
another one, take our second one. Come on, take a breath.
Okay.
In through the nose. Hold it. Let it out. Blood to a straw.
Okay, one
Nice
more.
little up-tempo medley for a little breathing.
It's nice, isn't it?
And it is nice. Woo.
Okay,
Calm
one
that
more
vagus
breath.
nerve.
Here we go.
Take it in through the nose. Hold it. Woo. Let them shoulders drop. Oh, let it all out.
All right, let's get into this thing. This is we got a lot to talk about here because this is going to be about not only being a comedian or an actor, but how to turn it into a real career, how to make some traction, move forward, how to get huge, get pumped,
This is good.
pumped
Good
up.
information that Barry's sharing. It's good.
Yeah,
Good
let's
stuff
gonna
he's
find
sharing.
out about
you know?
Barry too, because you know
There's
he's
a
one
lot
of
of
those
people
guys.
that kind of tell you how to be a stand-up, but how to build a career as a stand-up. That's huge, man. That's a huge give back, man.
All right, let's get into this thing.
Go ahead, Joe. Do
Without
that thing,
further
let's
ado.
start. Take a trip to the edge of the universe. Lunch there.
Okay, my guest today is an Emmy award-winning and Grammy award-winning producer. He's known for representing iconic artists like Louie Anderson, Jeong, Andy Dick, Hasan Minhaj, Kirk Fox, Mike Epps. He's known also for giving stage time early on to people like Kevin Hart, Ed Helms, Sarah Silverman, Dave Chappelle, Bobcat Goldthwait, Dana Gould, and Timothy Oliphant. Who knew he was a stand-up comedian when he started out? That's pretty cool. I think I heard that on WTF in his interview. My guest has also sold 39 out of 40 stand-up comedy specials he produced and has brokered an unprecedented 100 TV development deals and created 3 TV shows. Executive
One of the
produced over
best.
50 specials, documentaries, reality shows, and scripted series. Not only that, but he's like a movie producer as well. One of the things he helped broker was Dave Chappelle and Neil Brennan's first movie, which was the cult classic Half Baked, to Universal Studios, plus multiple other films, including one called I Killed JFK, about the only living person in history to admit to killing Kennedy. I haven't seen that. That sounds pretty good. Misery Loves
how
Company.
how about the TV show Last Comic Standing?
Well, we're going to get to that. These are the movies. Misery
Oh,
Loves
more in the movie
Company,
category.
starring Tom Hanks, Amy Schumer, Judd Apatow, and Larry David. And yes, he is the executive producer on that show, Last Comic Standing, which everybody loves. Everybody
Launching.
Launch that
careers.
sucker. He also was he was the first manager to work with Dane Cook, using social media to accelerate his career. So
that was MySpace.
it's pretty awesome. Yeah, and so he was able to sell out 2 shows in one night at Boston Garden and 2 shows in one night at Madison Square Garden for a total of 75,000 tickets sold in less than a week.
Yeah.
He's also one of the driving forces of Comedy Dynamics. We had Melinda Hill, I believe, has her show on that. Some people that we've had on the show before, which is an online
Comedy
platform of
Dynamics.
comedians. And now he has Blueprint for Comedy Success that we're going to talk about. I just want to read his mission statement. His mission statement is to work together with extraordinary artists and companies to create unforgettable, holy shit moments in film, television, literary, streaming internet content, and live performance that entertains, inspires, and changes the world. That that sounds pretty good. Yeah. All right, let's get into this thing. Interview Friday. Barry Katz.
Hey everybody, I'm Barry Katz. Wherever you are in your comedy journey, this course is designed to help you take your career to the next level and achieve the kind of greatness that you deserve. People talk a lot about the pandemic. Times are tough, can't make it. What am I gonna do? It's too hard. Bullshit. When I told people I wanted to do this, I asked some of the top people in the business. They all told me, don't do it. It's gonna hurt you. You know all the stories. You know all the information. You know where all the bodies are buried. But I said to myself that I wanted to do something that could help people. Whether you want to be an actor, an actress, a stand-up comedian, a podcaster, a host, a manager, or whatever you can imagine, I've been proud to make a difference in many, many artists' careers, and I'm looking forward to being proud to making a difference in yours. My name is Barry Katz, and this is my blueprint for success in the comedy business. We're going to succeed together. I guarantee it.
All right, yeah. Finally, he has arrived. Barry Katz, welcome to Lunch Therapy.
Joel, holy shit, I can't believe it. I felt so relaxed and calm and excited and happy, and then I saw my introduction and I thought, oh, I'm miserable again.
Oh, come on, that was so inspiring. We were all like, yes, Barry, let's do this thing. Let's do this thing together. I find it super inspiring. I also was inspired listening to your podcast, Industry Standard, which has been around it's been like a decade you've been doing this podcast, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been 10 years, and I'm up here at the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival right now, and I've been interviewing a ton of people up here. I just interviewed the Lucas brothers, who got nominated for an Academy Award, and also did the Lucas Brothers Moving Company, the animated show. But there's so many people up here. I was just with Bert Kreischer last night and hung out with him, and just to hug him and talk about what's happening and how proud I am. It's exciting to see the trajectory of comedians and how they grow and they move into levels of stratospheres that can only be dreamed about.
Yeah, that's what I love about the interview process. What started you doing a podcast? Were you 10 years ago? Were there tons of podcasts, or was it kind of new?
No, every time a steel mill closes, there's 5,000 new podcasts. So but back then there weren't that many, and I had talked to Apple about doing it and doing something different, and they were really, really supportive. And I think that what I'll share with you guys is that when you're a manager, it's a wonderful thing. It's extraordinary. So if you're working with Jay Moore or Daryl Hammond or Jim Brewer or Tracy Morgan, like I was a while back, and you help them with your talent and their talent to get them to the position to audition and work on the audition and then get the show, getting that call from Lorne, or at the time Marcy Klein, who was the executive producer, or Ayala Cohen, who worked there as well, who's now an agent. One of the greatest feelings in the world. But after it happens, you sit back and you say, look, I've only helped one person. yes, I did something that helped the artist and Lorne and Marcy and Ayala and NBC, and millions of people are inspired by the work they do on the show. But at the end of the day, I felt like I wasn't doing enough, and I wanted to Airbnb my mind for free on
Ooh,
industry standard and other people's minds, and show people what happened behind the scenes and help them learn how to do things to where they wouldn't make the same mistakes that other people make along the way.
Love that you have a mission statement. I don't know. Do most managers, producers have mission statements? And are they so outward facing? More like, what am I going to do for people?
No, and that's one of the challenging things. When I started the podcast, I asked a lot of really wonderful, amazing, extraordinary executives and agents and managers and lawyers. I told them I was going to do it, and they all told me, "Don't do it. It's going to be really, really bad for you." And I said, "What are you talking about? I'm trying to help people." And he said, "Listen, Barry, the things and the things you're going to talk about are not going to be things that people want you to talk about if you want to do truly what you want to do. And then there's going to be clients of yours who, you know, some people will understand, but other people, they'll say, 'Where were you today at lunch?' Or, 'Well, I was interviewing Ted Sarandos, the president of Netflix.' 'Oh,
Mm-hmm.
really? Did you talk about me? Did you ask? Did you tell him about me? Did
Right,
you?'
right, right.
And when are you getting me on? When are you getting him on my podcast?"
Oh my goodness.
Well, he's only done, one or two podcasts his entire career. It's gonna be, well, how come it's yours? Why isn't it mine? You
Mm-hmm.
represent me. You're working for me, and so
Yeah.
there it can be dangerous in that way if the artists that are you're managing understand that you want to have more of a purpose in your life for this crazy fucked up business.
Yeah.
Like I love managing people and I love making a difference, and I've been, it's humbling. What I'm about to tell you is like it doesn't come across as being humble, but I really truly I, I you can't quantify it in a court of law. But when you meet one artist and they're living in like a studio apartment and they become a multimillionaire and the household name, yeah, that's might be luck. And then if it happens a second time, maybe it's a fluke. And if it happens a third time, maybe it's a coincidence. But when it happens 24 times, it's like then you know that there's something happening, and if you can do it there, you want to do it. You want to try to help as many artists as you can that don't get the advice or whatever, but you also still want to do what you do, which you do it great. Like I always feel like 5 minutes of my time now is it's probably worth 5 hours of somebody else's time. So I want to be able to do things at night to help people and take calls. I want to do things every Monday at dinner time to be inspirational to young people that are trying to find answers. And I'm hoping the people that I manage or the television shows I work on or the movies I produce, I just did one with Michael Madsen.
Hmm.
I hope they understand that you know, I'm still going to be great for them, but I want to be great for as many people as I can, because what's the use of being on this crazy
Yeah.
planet if you can't help as many people as possible?
It
yep,
totally makes sense. You know
yep.
what?
That servicing purpose. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
service. I just want
I
to
have a
point
question.
out, hold on one second. Howard Aronin
Okay.
says it's Barry Katz's birthday. Is it your birthday?
Sadly, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
happy birthday. What better time to spend a
Happy
birthday than on
birthday.
podcast, right?
Nice.
Yeah, so
What an honor.
I'm
What
so
an honor.
honored
I know,
that you're
yeah.
on the show on your birthday. So happy
I just
birthday
want
from
to.
all
I
of
just
us.
want
Yeah,
to. I just want to tell you something.
yeah.
On July 29th of last year, I just sat down on my couch in the fetal position. I thought to myself, what would be the greatest birthday present ever? And then I thought to myself, Joel Marshall.
Yes.
And 364 days I've been waiting for this moment.
What a
And
great! You realized your dream to be with Joel
Dreams
Marshall on your
do come
birthday.
true.
I really appreciate it. I mean, really, seriously, I really appreciate you being on the show on your birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool. So thanks, Howard, for pointing that out again. He had actually texted me last night, it's Barry's birthday. And I was like, oh my God, yes. It's so great. So,
Very
so
exciting.
yeah, it really goes along with what we were talking about, that you're so generous and it's not all
Yeah.
about you or whatever. But at the same time, you're hugely successful. A lot of great things have happened to you, probably because of your attitude of, being generous with other people. And a lot of people don't understand that, I think, in Hollywood.
Yeah.
There's like, I got to get mine. I got to get mine. And that's kind of speaks to what you were talking about. So
I
let's
want to
move
ask
on.
this
Well,
question.
oh, yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
like to, if I can.
Ross?
Barry, like with the people you manage and the people you work for, and and here you are servicing others, newbies, people that are interested. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And sharing your information and stuff without saying any names or anything. Has there been any? The people told you 10 years ago don't do it. But has there been any? What's it called? Throwback or pushback? Have you had anybody really kind of complaining that you're, doing what you're doing, after the advice of
oh,
don't do it?
there's always going to be people who, um, we're in a business where the goal of an artist is to accomplish all of their goals. My job as a manager is to take their bucket list and start checking things off one by one. And then when I finish that list, there's a new list. It's like the whack-a-mole game for entertainment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so when you're in the process of helping somebody achieve their goals and they're singularly goal oriented, there are some people out there who would rather have Colonel Tom Parker than somebody who wants to impart things on other people. I don't think
Yeah. To share
I
the
never,
share the
but I never worry about myself. That's one thing. I never worry about myself in management or how it can be in anything, because I always feel like I'm going to figure out a way to get it done. And if there is an artist that doesn't want to work with me because I do those things or that I do the podcast, I get it. It's okay. It's truly okay, because I just want to work with the people who believe that I can help them get to the promised land. And if there's somebody better for them, that's fantastic. I mean, I've been fortunate to experience almost every single thing that you can imagine in this business. And I'm also in a position where I wouldn't want to do things that I think other people wouldn't want to do. Like if somebody called me and said, "Hey, Barry, I know that you have done management where you took people on tour to NBA arenas all across the country and the world. Will you help me with that? Here's a big check." I granted the money would be amazing, but I don't want to do that. I don't think I want to do that unless I'm doing it in a situation where I really feel like I'm excited and I love doing that. Or if somebody said, "Here, I have a sitcom for you, Barry. I want you to executive produce it. You're making this amount of money. You just have to be in Burbank 5 days a week." I don't. It's awful, but I don't want to be in Burbank. I have nothing against Burbank. I just don't want to be in Burbank 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Now, but consequently, like if somebody said to me, "I can give you a mansion in Bel Air, or I can give you a a shack on the ocean. You can't sell either one, but this is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can choose one. Every time I choose the shack on the ocean because that
Peace of mind.
the ocean soothes me. Now, granted, that's not the way the world works. People would take the mansion in Bel Air. And so I chose to do the podcast. I chose to do this blueprint thing. And because I love doing a lot of different things. But then when you go to like the Comedy Cellar, let's say in New York, and Esty is right there all the time and been there for like 30 years. And it's like the gold standard, the Peninsula Hotel of comedy clubs. Not the way it's built, but the way it's perceived.
Exactly.
And it's that way because, she's dedicated her life to a singular, like I said, the Colonel Tom Parker thing.
Yep.
She doesn't want to do anything else. I've always wanted to do a lot of different things. I've always loved producing shows with artists. I've always loved doing movies with different people. I've always loved talking to people about their careers and business, and it just means a lot to me. And I just feel like just doing this podcast when I see you, Joel, and I'm so glad that thankfully your co-host is in the picture, because God knows, I thought you were generous for a while, but then his face popped up and I'm like, wow, this is exciting. There's somebody on the screen that actually makes Joel and I look good. So this is fantastic. I love this. This is but yeah. So it's just I look at what you're doing, Joel, and honestly, permission to speak freely.
Yes, please.
Please.
So you look at what you're doing, and technically speaking, there's a lot of shit happening. There's like meditations, there's this and that, there's different things you're on all the time. And you're not a traditional person who somebody would see, on their television or, on a network or a broadcast. You're like a different kind of world. And then the both of you together is like this thing where it's like, look at us, together we're like the Lee brothers, homely, lonely, and ugly. So it's perfect. So the
It's
point
just another
is
world,
that,
another thing to do. It's
but it doesn't fucking matter, because you have your audience. You figured out a way to have your audience unapologetically. You do things the way you want to do them. And if people show up, great. And if they don't, great. It's okay. I always tell artists this, who will listen to me without rolling their eyes. Pretend that everybody thinks that they have to be so loved, and God, I gotta have so many fans and I gotta have these many followers. I always tell them, pretend the room you're in is completely painted black. The ceiling, the floor, the walls, the furniture, everything's black. And then you just take like a bottle cap or something and just throw it in the middle of the floor. And I say to them, if you can reach that many people in the world, and the black room is the world, and that's all you reach, you're a fucking multimillionaire and a huge star. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
99.9% of the world could go fuck yourself. We hate you. We think you're the worst thing ever. and
Yeah.
you are a multi-millionaire with millions and millions of followers, and you're selling out everywhere. Just think about that for a second. You know, people say, oh, God, he sold out Madison Square Garden, 20,000 people. But think about 20,000 people realistically in the scheme of the world.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like
Nothing.
this is what's
Yeah.
crazy. And so what you're
Minuscule.
doing is so inspirational because you're doing things your way, just like every artist should do. And you're taking risks to do this. And you might think, well, what risk am I taking, Barry? I'm just, doing this. I'm hanging out. I'm having fun. But you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And when you started, guess how many people had watched you? 0.
Right.
It ain't fucking 0 anymore.
Right. Oh, I love this. Oh my God. Okay.
Hey, look, we got Barry Katz on.
I love this.
You just gotta do love, man.
I'm always
Get
like
you
telling
life.
myself these things, Barry. I really appreciate this. Now it says Christopher Gladys on the bottom here. Wait a second here. You see,
Hey,
this
I
is the
love
kind of
being
show.
I love being Christopher Gladys. It's just perfect. I'm very happy being Christopher Gladys.
No,
Don't worry
you're going to
about
be
it.
Barry Katz. But
Come on, Boney. But it's okay. Boney's
Boney,
listening.
come
That's
on
why
now.
he's paying attention.
My assistant Boney was asleep at the wheel. So I really
You
appreciate
sure this
what you're
isn't?
saying.
You sure this isn't the psychopharmaceutical podcast? That's
There's a little bit of that going on.
Big farm.
There is.
Big
So
farm.
I appreciate what you're saying greatly because I think as myself, I understand, you understand what it takes to do this kind of thing and do it on a consistent, regular basis. And a lot of times people will tell you, not to do it, or it's not a success, or there's not enough followers, and the industry is kind of telling us this. How do your clients like keep their head right in order to like keep focused and keep their eye on the ball and also be their own unique voice, while everybody else is telling you you're doing it wrong? Because most of the people will tell you you're doing it wrong,
Yeah, well, if anybody tells you you're doing it wrong, you have a choice. You can say, I'm doing it wrong, or you can say, let me listen to this and see if there's anything that they say. You know how that expression, I'm going to say something, use as much or as little as you want. I always say that.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Howard, that was funny. Thank you.
Sorry, Howard, you're going to have to go back and watch that one.
Oh, shit, that's funny. And the sad part is he was probably telling the truth. Anyway.
Where's Christopher? Anyway, yes.
So I think that what I would tell anybody, whether it's a person I work with or not, obviously I spent more, I want the focus to be with anything is like, what do I have to do to break through? It doesn't matter if you're in the comedy business, any business. I don't care if you're making cupcakes. How do you get to be in the situation you need to be in? I think Jay Leno once said to me, we're in a line. We're all in a line. So Joel, just to use you as an example, 24 hours before you started your podcast, you were in a line of podcasters, but you were outside the line, and there's 1 million podcasters. Okay?
Yeah.
And then you entered the line. Okay? Now, you're not 1 million out of 1 million. You passed people. Now you're not number one either. Haven't passed that person.
No.
But the point is that no matter how many viewers you have, and I don't know what that is, and it's none of my business. The point is you started with nothing and you entered the line, and there was somebody who was at the end of the line, and you figured out what to do to pass the person at the end of the line, and the next person, the next person, the next person. Now, there might be some things you do on the podcast. Maybe there's a look, maybe there's somebody who's a fan of your podcast and they're a podcast, they're a technical guy. They're a lower third specialist in chyrons.
I need that.
And
I
they
need that.
they watch this episode and they see the Christopher Gladys thing come on
Yeah,
and they're like,
yeah.
oh, fuck this. I'm not this fucking guy can't even put a fucking chyron on. I'm not watching this anymore. Then you fall down in the line.
Yeah, right.
You go back in the line and somebody passes you. Or maybe you do an interview where you're not your best or you're not your most prepared, or you give information that's not accurate, or your graphics in back of you seem amateurish, and somebody else has something that's really, really popping and beautiful and special. They pass you or you pass them. And so as an artist, you always have to figure out how to pass people and create those holy shit moments that blow people the fuck away. And that's what I love about comedy, because for every comedian that's breaking through, there's 100 other ones sitting on a couch saying, I don't understand it. I mean, I'm funny. I get laughs. I killed. I mean, why is this guy passing me? How did this person get a spot? Why do they have 250,000 followers and I have 30? How come I do these great bits and nobody pays attention? This guy does this fucking cats and dogs bit that kills, and it's like they think he's a genius. It's cats and dogs.
Right.
And I always say to people, it's not fair. Life isn't fair. The cards we're dealt aren't always fair. When I interviewed the Lucas brothers, they grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Father was in jail when they were 7 or 6 years old. Okay, they're being raised by a woman trying to make it all work. They're in the projects, in a drug selling projects. How did they get out? How did they get nominated for an Academy Award? How did they create an animated show that got on the air? How did they get an hour special? But you grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, in a fucking rich family, and you have everything you want, all the money you need, and they're passing you. Why? Because they're doing things that make people notice them more than you are. They're showing up early or on time. They're working smarter and harder than everybody else. And they're pretending every day when they wake up that shit is not going well. And how do we make it go better?
Wow.
You know, I always say this, Joel, and maybe it's too harsh to say in a way of how people look at things, but who's a better trapeze artist? The one doing the triple somersault in front of the live sold out crowd with a net, or the one who does it without the net?
The one who does it without the net? The one who does it without the net.
That is correct, sir. Why is that? Because if they don't land it, they're dead.
Yes.
So, like, for instance, anybody watching this, it sounds so corny, but let's say you're trying to get a job in the entertainment business, whatever it is, in front of the camera, behind the camera, whatever. Let's just take behind the camera for right now.
Yeah.
I want to get a job at a studio. Okay. I keep applying online. Nobody ever responds. I can't get anybody to take me. I'm never going to fucking get this job, whatever. But if I said to that person, look, I've got your wife, your kids, your mom, your dad held hostage. Okay. And if you don't get a job at a studio by Labor Day, you're never going to see them again. Guess who's getting the job at a fucking studio?
Right. No kidding. No kidding.
Okay, so the issue with most artists is the sense of urgency. And
Mhm.
it's just, there's just not a sense of urgency for most artists, pretending like it's, I talked to this comedian today, Morgan J. He's a musical comedian,
Mhm.
and he was telling me how he was having a great year, and the last show he had of the year was a 4,000 seat theater opening up for D. Ray Davis.
Mhm.
And it's packed, it's sold out, everybody's dressed up, whatever. He goes on the first show, does well, he's happy, but he decides to take a risk. He decides to switch it up and do a different kind of set for the late show. He gets booed off the stage. His last show of the year, and the only show of the year he did poorly on. He gets booed off the stage. There's
Booed
like
off the stage.
4,000
Oh,
people
man.
there. Okay.
4,000 people.
All right. So
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah.
And I said something to him that I think I'm always going to remember. I said, I had respect for you before, but now I really have a lot of respect for you.
Mhm.
He said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I said, because you went on a black audience, you're white, first show, you hold your own, you do well, and most people would be like, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Not Morgan J. He says, you know what? There's another show, 4,000 African American people, and I'm a white guy. I look like a line of cocaine on a black album cover. I'll just, go in there and I'll switch it up and I'll do something different.
Yeah.
And he took a risk. And he failed. But I have so much more respect for him for taking the risk and not playing it safe than just being ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And
Playing it safe.
after he bombed, if you can imagine starting your year like that, it's like, oh my God, I'm not as good as I thought I was. I'm not as viable as I thought I was. I'm not as consistent. I have to be better. And so that instance of risk helped him and drove him to be better and helped him become more and more successful than he was before that. Whereas if he had gone on and gotten the standing ovation, he would have felt like he had a net that next year.
Mm.
And I think that's what comedians and artists need to do, is just, if they can psychologically pretend that they don't have a net, that there's no money in their bank account.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you, when you can't have enough money for food or a roof over your head, you're going to do something special.
Desperation, sense of urgency.
I love that. So that's really great. And if you can create that, yeah, here we are in another thing.
But also,
wait a second. I just want to point something out. I just want to point something out to the audience. I am Barry Katz.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. We did it. Got 1% better just between the last scene and this scene. It's already
the one in the audience.
Nailed it, Boney. You nailed it. Congratulations. Oh my God. So
No,
yeah. Okay. What were you gonna say, Blas?
Supporting him like that, though, for Morgan J, the way you support him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, giving him good words like that, that kind of support,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to hear that a lot. Only people who believe in what they're doing and how they're working with people and giving them the opportunity to see that it's not just a failure, it's a learning lesson, and then at the same time too, it's an opportunity. Creating an opportunity. Okay,
well, and having somebody who understands that. I mean, this is a person who's produced so many shows, has to put butts in the seat. Also, he's a manager, so he wants you to keep, growing and keep getting better and better. But the only way you can get better sometimes is a lot of the time is to take those risks where you're going to fall flat on your face. And sometimes the producer of the show might not be so happy about that, or the owner of the club. But you as your manager. Or your manager. But you as a comedian have to know, I can't always just be trying to please them, because they're going to be very pleased down the line if I don't please them sometimes. So how do you cultivate that in your people that you manage? Like, how do you, I guess you just support that. But also, we're all, how you talk about your podcast and how some people are like, why are you doing a podcast? You need to be on the phone calling people about getting me a job. Well, you don't understand. This podcast enriches all the things that I do and who I can even call, because it's actually a very social thing. But we as comedians these days have to have a podcast or show, get out in the clubs every night, be in acting class at Ivana Chubbuck's, do our marketing, all these different things. How do you help people put energy into maybe make it even enough, or put the energy in the right things, I guess?
Well, before I answer that, I just want to ask a quick question, if you don't mind. Are you really Blas Lorenzo, or are you somebody else?
I am actually Blas Lorenzo.
Yes, we did it again.
All right. I just see how incrementally the show is just taken off. I can feel it now.
Getting better and better as we go.
Another one.
Yeah, look at the crowd is going wild too. Jason is very happy. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Yes.
Anytime there's a Jew digital clapping, I'm in. So
love it.
So you asked me how I do that, how you do that for clients. Well, it's like, look, what's so strange about our business is that, like, for instance, I think this is important, and it'll be a roundabout way to talk about it, but like, we're in a business that we can fail 99 out of 100 times and be the most successful people in the world. Like, if you're an actor and you go on 100 auditions and the first 99, they just say to themselves, listen, pal, don't let the door hit you on the way out. You're a fucking loser. You'll never make it. Don't quit your fucking day job. And then your 100th job, you audition for a show and you get it, and you're on television for 7 years. You're a fucking star. Beth Bayers on Two Broke Girls, that Whitney Cummings was one of the creators of, with Michael Patrick King, when I represented her. It's like, she came in, she had never done anything before. I think she had one guest star as maybe, I don't know what it was, maybe a couple. And she's going up against people with hundreds and hundreds of credits, but she went in and they said, wow, she was great, but she has no credits. Well, let's hold her. Let's see how she does against these people. They keep bringing her back. And she kept doing it better and better. And then the studio said, why don't we just test her? It's not going to just a paperwork. What do we, what's it going to be? Yeah. She tests, she gets through that, goes to the network, and beats out everybody and gets the gig. And now she's on television for 7 years. She's a multimillionaire, a household name. And so the thing is like, as an artist, you're going through things, you're working through a process, and there's no timeline. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. If you're a brain surgeon, you're going through school, you can actually put on the calendar the first day you're going to do your brain surgery, because you got to do 10 years of education and get to this, and this is when you're going to be at the hospital doing your first one. But in comedy, you don't know where it is. Now, consequently, using the brain surgeon philosophy, unbelievably, it's the exact opposite, in the sense that a brain surgeon can never fail. Not one fucking time. One time they fail, and they're doing operations in Zimbabwe by a stream. Yeah. Okay, so it's like, but comedians can fail all the look, you look at somebody like Bill Burr, who I managed for 8 years. I can't say this because he's not sitting next to me, but
Mhm.
I'm going to try to say it.
Okay.
Like, obviously, he put the work in for his career for years and years and years and years and years.
Mhm.
And he booked his first sitcom. He got the gig Townies with Molly Ringwald, and and so he was capable of doing that. But in stand up, it wasn't happening as quickly as I think he would want it to happen. And one day he goes on in Philadelphia on an Opie and Anthony show, and everybody's getting booed off the stage. And somehow, some way, all the training he had throughout all those shitty gigs, probably that he did for me in New England or whatever, and other ones all around the world, he became ready for that moment, and he handled that moment, and then faithfully, he didn't plan for the moment, or else he would have had a camera crew there. But faithfully, there's somebody in the crowd with a phone filming it, puts it on YouTube. Hundreds of millions of people watch, and now he goes into places after that, and he's selling out every show. Is he better than he was 24 hours ago or before he did that thing in Philadelphia? No. He's just as good, but the world didn't know it, but he worked hard. Tom Brady, he's the GOAT, right?
Yeah.
And everybody thinks he's the GOAT. Why? Because when they watch television and when he's playing a football game, from the moment the game starts to the moment the game ends, he does something extraordinary, undeniable, blows people the fuck away. That's why he's the GOAT. And that's the thing for artists. But the thing about Tom Brady that's the most important thing to recognize is the fact that 99, again, I use 99% a lot, 99% of the time he's working on football, no one sees.
Yeah.
He's putting in the work. He's putting in the hard work, the work that everyone hates doing. So then when he's training for that moment, when the lights go on and they shine the brightest, he's the best. And for every artist that I work with or every artist I don't work with and anywhere in between, that's just it. It's like you're putting in the work that nobody sees. So when the time comes when you're in the Comedy Store and there's 17 people there and you're about to go on and somebody says, hey, listen, the booker for the Tonight Show is here. What? And you go on and you fucking crush those 17 people that saw 3 hours and 47 minutes of comedy, and you figure out a way to do it. You've got to figure out a way to do it if somebody heckles you or if a glass breaks in the middle of the room, or you got to have the ability to be able to be a chameleon. And you're training for that as an artist every day, as an actor or an actress or a director or a writer or a comedian. It's always just putting in the work and the training. Joel, are you as good at what you do today as you were the first day you started this? No. You're better.
Yeah,
why are you
hopefully.
better? Because you put the time in. When comedians ask me where they should go, should they stay? I think I like to stay in Miami and do comedy there. I'm like, well, how many times do you get on a week? I get on a week about 3 times a week. Well, let me ask you something. The comedian that's in New York that goes on 12 times a week for the next year and you're going on 3 times a week, who's going to be 4 times better? Who's going to be moving up the line quicker? The New Yorker. And so anytime you do something more and more and more, the repetition, you're putting more lottery balls in the hopper so you can win the lottery of this entertainment business. You may not win. Look, let's face it. We've watched the NBA draft. There's teams that get the number 1 pick that the odds are, very low that they're going to get it. And we've seen the people who have the highest odds not get it. Again, life isn't fair.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if you don't even get the ball in the first place, then you can still be smarter than everybody else, like the Boston Celtics, and pick Jason Tatum number 3 when you had the first pick and you traded away for the number 3 because you assess the situation of what everybody's doing, what they're going to do, and you do the research and you really gut it out and you realize that the person that everybody wants for number 1 isn't going to be a long-term person like the person at number 3 that you want.
Or like Tom
And
Brady,
so
who was drafted, who knows
Not gonna be
what
what you
round
need.
he was drafted in, you know?
Yes, so it doesn't
Yeah,
matter
wait.
what happens. What doesn't matter what happens now. Today, you could have the shittiest thing happen. You could be the 297th best comedian. As long as you're committed to being the 296th the next day at least,
Yeah.
and committed to moving up the line.
I love that, because
that's the old saying.
yeah.
You know, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Well, also you're doing it. You're doing the thing that you set out to do. Like, regardless of what the numbers are or how much you're being paid, you're being a comedian. There was somebody on your podcast, I forget who it was, who said, you know, Popeye is just Popeye, regardless of what's his Instagram numbers are. He gets up every day and is Popeye. If you're a comedian, you get up every day, you're a comedian. And that is 99% of it is showing up, you know, as Woody Allen said so famously, showing up. But showing up is the actual joy of doing the art that you set out to do. The rest is just trying to support it.
I always had like an argument with just showing up, because I've seen a lot of people who just show up, and but they show up drunk.
Oh yeah.
They show up hungover. They show up tired. They show up unprepared. They show up. They show up in a way where they're disrespectful. They show up in a way where they're being an asshole. So, you know, don't just think that just showing up early and on time is all that it takes, because there's so much more. Because there's always going to be somebody who is in a situation that is looking at you a different way than another person is. And the goal is, when you're an artist, to have as many people's lenses look at you in an extraordinary way, even though they were all brought up in different ways. So when you're on a set, let's say as an actor, and there's, let's say, 5 actors on the show or 10 actors on the show, at the end of the filming, you know, you've got, if you're ranking it, you've got 10 spots. Somebody is going to be, if you poll everybody on the set, who's the best actor and who's the 10th best actor? Who's the nicest person and who's the 10th nicest? Who's the most prepared person and who's the 10th most prepared person? And you always want to be the person who's number 1.
Yeah. It's interesting what you're saying, because, you know, there's that whole compare and despair thing where you're always comparing yourself against other people. So there's like a difference between comparing yourself with other people and striving for excellence. And also striving for what you're doing, because you can't always even compare yourself against other people, because what you're doing is uniquely what you're doing. And if you're trying to be somebody else, you'll lose, because you can't be somebody else.
Yeah, you can't be somebody else, but what you can be is a version of yourself. And there's many versions, and there's many versions of ourselves. And look, the 3 of us are on this Zoom call, and if we were in a soundproof booth, and somebody said to us, what's the worst version of ourselves? we could probably name 10 stories that we could tell if we knew nobody else was going to hear them. That was the worst version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then if we were telling the best version of ourselves, we'd tell them proudly and we'd love them to get out in the world. But every one of us here and every one of us listening and watching this has things that they're really tremendously not proud of about how they've acted, what they've done, what they're doing, how they're handling their life, and so you can be a version of yourself that's a heightened version of yourself to be better. I always I like to give this advice to artists. I like to, from way back when I started, I always thought this was a great exercise that I would always tell people to do. I always say, pretend that you're in a soundproof room with a two-way mirror. And there's two rooms that you can see back and forth with, and they're separated. One is your personal life. Everybody in your personal life is on one side of the room in this conference room that you've ever met personally. Girlfriends, boyfriends, regular friends, acquaintances, everybody, relationships, your family, aunts, uncles. And then on the other side is your professional people, your people you've worked with, your coworkers, bosses, could even be teachers, people like that. Okay. And you're behind a two-way mirror. They don't know you're there. And then a moderator comes in and he can speak to both groups, but I'm just separating them for the sake of you knowing what's personal and professional.
Yeah.
Visualizing it. And he asks the personal side and the professional side separately, could you tell us the greatest qualities of Joel Marshall? I want you to list your top 10 greatest qualities on a pad of paper that's in front of you. And you're visualizing everybody doing that. Your aunt, your uncle, your former boyfriend or girlfriends. And on the professional side, you're visualizing your bosses, your coworkers,
all the jobs you've had,
all the jobs
work.
you've had, and what they're writing. And they're writing down your top 10 qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And now they take a lunch break and you go into the room with the moderator and you look over everything and he has these people working and they put them all together and mix them all together and they do the calculations. And now you have the list of 10 things that are your greatest qualities that everybody in your professional and personal life has said. So maybe number 1 is honest. Number 2 is he's hardworking. Number 3, he's
loyal.
Loyal. Number 10 is he leaves the seat down on the toilet. Who knows what it is?
That's not me.
So now you go back to your soundproof two-way mirror and you visualize them going back in, and the moderator now asks them, could you list the top 10 qualities of Joel Marshall that are the worst fucking qualities about this guy that makes you just want to say, ugh, fucking Joel Marshall, ugh, dirty, rotten world. Yeah. And all your family and friends and past girlfriends do that, and all your coworkers do that, and then they're released, and then you go and you sit with the moderator and you put them all together, and then they list all of your qualities that are bad and they put them in order based on how many there were. So number 1 is he's a horrible dresser. Number 2 is he has a haircut like an 80s hockey star. Number 3 is he's got a graphics guy that he's loyal to that doesn't do his job as good as he possibly could today. I'm kidding. But you're doing a great job. I'm kidding. I'm joking. And then you got now you have both lists. Your moderator leaves and you have these 2 lists of the 10 greatest qualities that you possess based on everyone you know in your personal and professional life. And then you have a list of the 10 worst qualities that you possess that everyone in your family, friends, personal life, and professional life has. So now you have the two greatest tools of your life as an artist. You have the list that you're going to post on your wall of the greatest calls you have that you're going to continue to do over and over again for the rest of your life, because that's your winning formula. And now you have the second greatest thing in your life is the worst things that you have in your life, your qualities, and that you post on your wall too. And those things you are never going to exhibit again as long as you live. And if you do that and you eliminate and do a biopsy of all of those 10 things that you're known for from all those people that are so horrible, and you never exhibit those qualities again, and you focus on all of the good qualities that you have, then you're in a situation where you're going to rise exponentially. The trajectory is going to be incredible, and you're going to be in a situation where you're going to thrive, and you're going to move further up in the line until you get to the top of the line. It's only natural if you eliminate your Achilles heels and accentuate the things that you're best at, that you're going to rise.
It's so great because a lot of times people label themselves their faults. They say, "Oh, I'm not good with numbers. Oh, I'm never on time." They like wear it like it's a part of them.
Yeah.
But you can let that stuff go. It's not your identity. It doesn't, if it's not helping you.
You know what? I just can't remember names. It's hard. It's hard. It's
I
not.
can't remember
That's not my
names. Well,
thing.
let's figure out a way.
I'm Barry. I'm Barry. It just
good.
says right down
That's
there.
why we have the labels there. That's why we have the labels there for you, just in case you forget. But yeah, that's so great. I love that. I always say with this show, I try and make it 1% better every time. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes it's 30% worse. But I strive to at least make it 1% better. And
it does.
And it's helpful.
That's
it's
the goal.
helpful kind of goal.
Is just a little bit better,
Maybe I should make it 10% better.
And work on the things that are good, and the things that aren't so great.
Reinforce those other things.
Do our best to push that to the side.
One of the things that I'm really good at.
It's good. That's a very well put idea of the structure of who you want to be. What kind of person do you really want to be? Who do you want to be? That's a perfect idea of that. And a lot of people can't face the truth to that, like what is the 10 truths and what are those 10 truths? And that's some big ass shit right there. That's part of your program.
It's part of. Do you actually have people do that? Get them in a room with all their exes and family members?
I've
told them that, but I think the thing about the blueprint that you're talking about, to me, like, again, it's just another thing where it's like people say your program or your course or your class or whatever, and I feel like I almost like the hair on the back of my neck almost stands up, because I just want you to know, and I want the audience to know, that I don't think of it as a program. I don't think of it as a class. I don't think of it as a course. I think of it as like a situation where it's just a group of people. I'm hanging out with them, and we're just firsthand just talking about the business and how we can figure out a way to bypass all the things that aren't going to help us, and to get where we're going to go. And it's like, it's almost just like, if you're at the Improv and you just walk by, you're a young comic and you just walk by whatever, Jim Jeffries or Chris Rock, and you just go up to them and you just say, "Hey, I wanted to ask you something about this." You don't say, "Hey, I went to Chris Rock's program," or "I went to, this class or this course." It's like, I just want to do something, this blueprint, where I can be of service. And right now there's over 500 people in this community, and you can join for free at I believe it's blueprint-for-success.com,
or you can just go to barrykatz.com, right, and find it there.
Go to barrykatz.com, and it's just like a situation where you don't even have to You don't even have to pay anything. Or there's people who want to pay money for different tiers, and they can get for, a lesser amount of money. They could just get these 50 podcasts that I pulled off regular free, like Kevin Hart and Bill Burr and Judd
Yeah,
Apatow
that
and
you
Ted
feel has
Sarandos.
relevance. That's important.
Or they can get more, and they be able to ask questions on certain calls with me, and they can get more. They pay more money, they can get more calls, like writers room calls or things like that. And if they want, they can pay more money and have time with me in my free time, whenever that is. The only whether it's late
I
at
don't know
night
how you
or
have free
early in
time.
the morning.
The thing that's so great about that
so,
is, oh yeah, go ahead. The thing that's so great about that
No, I
is
just want to.
when you come to Hollywood, you're like, what do I do? And I remember I had an agent early on that said, why don't you hang out with like older actors, and so that you can learn from them. And I was like, how am I going to hang out with older actors? How am I going to get a hold of them? But it's true. It's the old adage of like, if I knew what I knew in my 20s, what I know today. Well, you could. There's people out there to tell you all about it.
Yeah, and share with you.
So I started it during the pandemic. I did this thing where before I know it's ill-advised, but I got a space. I built out a whole studio, and I did like over 100 hours of stuff there, and pieces to create this blueprint for when the pandemic came out, that people would have something that was valuable. It was, obviously it's a crazy thing to do something like that, but I just wanted to try to create something that nobody was doing. And there's no manager or TV or film producer that's taking this kind of time with people. And
Nope.
I'm grateful
Nope.
that I can do it. And I granted, I stay up late at night, and sometimes I'm taking meetings. My meetings are with people are from like 9 p.m. to like 1 a.m. But it's like, I don't want it to affect my regular management or TV and film production, but I also want to help.
Yeah.
So if there's a lunchtime or a breakfast time or whatever it is, or on a weekend, like my week, like on a Sunday, I might take like a lot of meetings or a lot of different things. But to me, like, this is really helpful. It's special, and it's like, it's this thing where people can still go every Monday and just watch the calls. They don't get to participate if it's free, but so occasionally I'll call on somebody who just is on there, and nobody cares who paid a shitload of money. It's just because they just I just want to, like I said, my goal here on this podcast with you is that, look, if I had a true serum in my veins, the reason why I'm here, number one, is because, Joel, I see what you're doing, and you reached out to me, and I looked at what you're doing, and I said, I want to, if I can, if I add value, I want to support this man. I want to support what he's doing because I love what he's doing. That's the number one thing. If the number two thing is, like, if I can say something on this podcast that can help, one person or 10 people to make a decision or to do something that can help them get to the next level, then that's fantastic. And number three, maybe if they do come to the blueprint fantastic. But if they don't, that's okay, because I've already accomplished the first goal, hopefully, if I am a good guest, to support you and to let your audience know that what you're doing is something really, really special. And I say that with the words "your audience" in there. Your audience. You're the fucking man. Your co-host is the co-man. And you're the people who they come to see. No matter, you could have the greatest guests in the world on, but the bottom line is they love you, and they're here because of you. And I respect that, and I want to honor that.
Wow, Barry. Thank you very much. I really,
Big stuff.
really
It's
appreciate
big
it.
stuff, Barry. You know, I support him exactly the same way, and I say a lot of similar stuff. You know, and it's hard. Like when you're dealing with an artist, sometimes an artist is yeah, but but
An
it's
idiot?
okay. You know,
Is
as
that what
long
you're
as you
saying? You're
know
saying
that
I'm an idiot?
you're loved and you got the support. It's a big thing. It really
I
is.
love it.
And you know, I get it now too. When you said earlier about when they say your program or your course or that get the hairs
It's killing it.
in the back of your neck rise up because just naming a blueprint. It's a blueprint. You take the blueprint, you do what you can with the blueprint. Take things that work for you, right? And you listen to what's going on, the conversations you have with people. It's not a program. It's conversations. And if you get things out of those conversations that help elevate you, inspire you, that's the goal. And that's a huge thing, man. Huge thing you're doing, Barry. Absolutely, man.
All right. Well, this
Thanks.
has been a wonderful interview and super inspiring. So thank you so much for being on the show, Barry.
I'm sorry. Are you
What?
ending the show
I'm
right
ending
now?
the show, yeah, because I think this is a good time.
Yeah,
Barry's at this comedy festival. He's got
Barry's
back-to-back
He's
interviews.
like this asshole over here.
I am also getting very uncomfortable because there's so much love coming my way. It's making me.
He doesn't know what to do. He's so embarrassed.
I don't know what to
He's
do
so
about
embarrassed.
it.
He doesn't know how to just say, you know, oh, thank you.
So we're gonna shake it out. I got a dance break today. Someone that's been on the show before. We're gonna enjoy her. She's from Japan and she's playing Ozzy Osbourne's "Crazy Train," which all of us, are a fan of. So we're gonna dance it out a little bit, and then we're gonna end the show. Thanks, Barry Katz, for being on the show.
Man, Barry.
Thank you so
Huge,
much.
man. Huge, man.
Super
Thank you
helpful.
for everything, bro. Everything you do for everybody, too. Man. All your projects, man. Fun stuff.
I appreciate you both. Thank you so much.
So here we go. Little dance break action here. This is Nini music from Japan.
You're so good, man.
I know
Jeez, where'd you get out of Japan? Man, like a guitar. Strings.
Hopefully, people can come to the screening spectacular tonight. Let me know if you know.
Does that go part?
I don't know what you have there, guys. It looks like a slingshot. What is that? Is that an instrument? Thanks for Heista for being here. Ginny Sykes.
Hey, JD!
This has been Lunch Therapy Interview Friday with Barry Katz.
You got 2 minutes, Barry.